And then Paulie does the Paulie walk down the stairs, comes over to me and says, "Are you going to go to the ring?"
I did get my ass handed to me by Dusty.
I got fired because I got in a backstage verbal altercation with Diamond Dallas Page.
Just to be clear, I have nothing personal against Vince Russo.
Terry Funk took us to a karaoke place, and he said, "After these people are Japanese mafia."
And there's Bruno in the opposite corner, and he's dancing. And I think, you son of a...
And I answered the phone, and it was Jim Cornette.
And nobody knows it. I think this is the first time I've said this, actually.
Hey, y'all, it's Grant Fletcher, and you are listening to episode 68 of the 69-minute Eargasm with the quintessential stud muffin, Joel Gertner. Joel, how you doing, brother?
Everything is well. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing fantastic. Hey, did I tell you that I'm going to be hosting the Alabama Comic-Con again this year at the end of September?
I believe you may have. No need to. I believe you may have, or I believe I about that through the grapevine. I believe you may have, but nonetheless, it doesn't surprise me. You're the best at what you do. I've seen your work, and I've seen the trail that your work leaves behind. I've seen that every job that you do and every event that you go to is better off for having you. So congratulations on getting that gig, man.
We are about 60 seconds in. You're already putting me over. I appreciate that. But no, what I wanted to say was that I'm excited about doing that show. But what's cool about that show, if you're interested, folks in and around the Birmingham area, we are going to be hosting a Nation of Domination reunion at that convention. We're going to have D'Lo Brown, who's been on the show before, Charles Wright, a.k.a. Papa Shango, a.k.a. Kama Mustafa, a.k.a. The Godfather, and the man himself, Ron Simmons, will be there too.
Damn.
I'm excited, man. I'm really pumped.
You should be. Like a lot of fun. And hey, if you don't want me to put you over so much, if you want me to bury you for the next 4 minutes, I can do that. Just let me know.
Well, I mean, you're going to do it either way, so it's fine. But but it's your show after all. Your name is on the show. Mine is not. But yeah, dude, Ron's cool. I actually was able to spend some time with Ron back in January. Over the course of a weekend, I spent about 3 hours in a car with him, and that guy is he's awesome, man. He's every bit the legend that they say he is, man. What about you, my friend? It's been hard for us to sit down and do this because you've been busy as well. And I know you have a lot going on, but I'm glad we're actually able to sit down and do this for, the Eargasm Army out there.
Well, I'm glad you asked. Thank you for the segue too. I am indeed every bit the legend that everybody expects that I might be. So I appreciate the toss.
Correct.
Yeah, man, it's been tough to get together. Things are busy when you're not just living your best life, but you're living life well. And yeah, there's a lot of time well spent, and there's a lot of time just spent, and there's a lot of effort, and a lot of it's worthwhile. And, it's just life is life, man. And it's been a minute since we have gotten together, which, we've got these episodes, man, sitting in the can, just waiting to burst, just waiting to get out into the ether and the atmosphere. And it's just tough to sit on all of it. But yeah, man, we've got such cool stuff. I'm glad people are going to get to hear it. And because it was so much fun to produce, it was so much fun to record and just chat, man. I love just doing the deep dive and finding out about people's childhoods and what got them into wrestling, why they're into wrestling, the first wrestling they saw. You know how it is on here, or how it has been up till now. We're always trying different stuff, but everything we do, I like to put my best foot forward. And when I say it's a deep dive, I don't just like that because it's cliche or it's just the jargon of the month or it's terminology. I like to really make a deep dive, an honest deep dive. And I think we've really, really done that so far.
Yeah, that's rad. And I'm glad you mentioned that too, because our last episode, the Charmel episode, it broke records for us as far as number of downloads go. I mean, a hot episode. The Eargasm Army really loved it, and I'm really glad that we're following up with this one, because we normally do a big preamble here before the interview, but I feel like the Eargasm Army, they're ready to get to the interview. They want to hear what this one's all about, because this guy we're talking about here is not just a legend as far as a guy who went up and down the road and did it all, but actually trained a lot of your favorite wrestlers, including a lot of folks who were in ECW as it was before the buyout.
Oh, I mean, this is a guy who's not just a legend because who he's trained is a lot of legends, people who have gone on to become legends themselves. He's trained Hall of Famers. He's trained household names. And like you said, he's trained some of your favorite wrestlers. He's trained people that have gone on and trained other superstars. I mean, he's not just dad in all this. To a few people, he's a grandpop in all this. I mean, he's, as far as influence goes, he's looking at third generation right now. He goes back to a time in basically the middle of the 20th century. I mean, when you listen to our stories together, that he is kind enough to go into detail and discuss with us, you're talking about not just somebody who's listen, I can tell you about the last 30 years in wrestling. I can tell you about the last 35 years in wrestling, but without hyperbole and without stretching the definition of the term, this man can go into wrestling for decades upon decades upon decades. That's how long he's been in the game. And it was just such a sharp talk with him. It was just so much fun and really quite the honor.
I mean, yeah, like you said, legends and legends and legends. I mean, people like Tommy Dreamer, people like the Dudleys, Matt Stryker, even if you want to get a little more current, Tazz, and even Prince Nana was trained by this guy. And it's amazing. He's got an amazing story. Joel, as always, you get people to open up and really lay it out there for you. So I'm glad that we were able to do this. We're able to put this one out here. Anything else that we feel like, I mean, you summed it up really well. I mean, you did a great introduction, but anything else we're missing here before we just go ahead and throw the interview?
No, man, it's been quite a few weeks since I recorded this. It was earlier in the year. It was probably springtime even. It's been a bit ago.
It's been a minute.
And I'm psyched. I'm amped and I want this to get out there. So no, man, let's just do it without any further ado.
All right, awesome, man. Well, look, if y'all haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and follow us on our social media accounts. We are the 69-Minute Eargasm. He's Joel Gertner. I'm Grant Fletcher. And this is Johnny Rodz.
And well, this edition of the 69-Minute Eargasm is going to be one of the most unpredictable ones to date, because our guest is not only a legend in the professional wrestling business, but he has trained people who have gone on in and of themselves to become legends in the professional wrestling business. He started in professional wrestling nearly 60 years ago and is a member of the WWF and WWE Hall of Fame since their 1996 class. So for 28 years, this man has already been in the Hall of Fame. One of the greatest enhancement talent of all time, arguably the greatest. One of the greatest wrestling trainers of all time. And because I'm from Brooklyn, I can tell you, arguably, but in my mind, without a shadow of a doubt, unquestionably, the greatest. He is unquestionable as a legend, undeniable. He is the inimitable and, of course, the unpredictable, the one and only Johnny Rodz. Johnny, thank you for being on with us today.
Yeah, you're welcome, and hallelujah. Yeah, boy, that's a lot. That's a lot to put over. My God, I didn't know I was that strong. And,
I figure I shined you up real nice, kid.
Oh, thank you. It's wow. Now I feel like starting all over again. Maybe I could do a couple. Maybe I could do a couple of flip flops now. Well,
Johnny,
go ahead.
I'm excited because we saw each other in Hamburg in the field house at the first Legends of Hamburg a few years ago. I've been in your office at Gleason's gym. We were talking about me promoting some independent wrestling, and gosh, I've only met you a handful of times. I actually went to college with your daughter. It's just a real small world, but I guess, Brooklyn's, 2.5 million people, but it's a lot smaller than, I guess. But what really excites me, though, about talking to you is that your career and just your trajectory and everything, all of your accomplishments, just what you've done is you're entirely, we've had a really broad, really diverse palette of guests, even so far on the show, a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Nobody that we've had on the show yet in any way is Johnny Rodz, and that's because nobody else in wrestling, outside of wrestling, is Johnny Rodz. I've been excited to talk to you for quite a while now, and I'm glad that we're actually on the phone together recording. My first question, and I do this with every guest, we go all the way back to the beginning, all the way back to youth, to childhood, to before the person that I'm speaking with got into the wrestling business, to talk about whether wrestling was something they enjoyed first as a fan, and if so, how they were exposed to it, what was the first wrestling they saw on TV, and what was the first wrestling they saw live. So I'm going to ask you those things, Johnny, but for you, again, a unique case, because according to Wikipedia, you were born in 1941, is that right?
Exactly.
All right.
May 16, 1941, yep.
So then my question for you is, not just wrestling, but when did your family get a TV? What is the youngest? How old were you? What do you remember? Right? What do you remember?
That's a good one. That's a good one.
That's a good one, right? What do you remember first about TV? When did you find out that TV? Because TV got but because there was a war going on, TV got put on the back burner until the war was over in 1945. By 1945, you're already 4 years old. So I'm gonna
tell you
when I was 4, 5, 6, 7, but I want to pick your brain and find out, when did you first find out about TV? When did your family get one? And what was the first wrestling that you saw on TV? And if you remember, what was the first wrestling you saw live?
Well, let me explain something to you. First of all, you're talking way back. I was born in 1941, but when I was born, I wasn't born here. I was born in the hills of Puerto Rico, on the west side of Puerto Rico, where mostly from the beginning of that island and the beginning when I'm just going to say the pirates took over, in the sense of Spanish coming in there and taking over and killing the Indians and trying, do things. From way back there, everything that the Indians did, they went into the west side of Puerto Rico, in the opposite side of San Juan, the left side, way up in the hills, because those are the biggest hills, more or less, in Puerto Rico. And
how far back did you go in Puerto Rico? Do you know?
Well, you're talking, my friend, you're talking 400 years back, in the sense of the beginning. But I'm going back, just say 200 years back. I say when the everything started and the Indians are getting trying to defend themselves, they wind up in the hills, and mostly any hills that they could go so they could see everything coming. But where I come from, all the way up in Guayama and Patilla on the west side of Puerto Rico, up in the hills, that's where most of the Indians ran in and defend themselves from the pirates. Anyway, I'll call them pirates because, this way we understand a little better. But, at the time, there will be Indians and there will be Spanish what comes in, and there will be the Africans who came in with the Spanish to do the service of the roads and build up the forts and stuff like that. If anybody knows the history, that's how it all started. Well, I am from the hills of Puerto Rico on the west side. I was born there quite a few years ago, and I didn't leave there until I was, say, 11 and a half, just a little bit over 11 and a half, and they brought us here to New York. when I came here to New York, me, my brother, my sister, my mother and father, well, it's 5 of us, but then the other 2 were born here. But we come here with the family, which my mother's aunt, who at the time was here for many years, way before that, married some wealthy guy in the sense here in New York, right down in the Lower East Side where Little Italy is. And we came here, with nothing. I mean, being in the hills of Puerto Rico at 11 and a half years old, if I could draw pictures of what my memory is from that time. There is no radio. There is no TV. There is no running water. There is no gas and electric of any kind. It's all total Indian style. Yeah, you have a bungalow, but you're talking about hillbillies. Well, I was born up in the hills of Puerto Rico. What was that?
English?
Go ahead, I can't hear you. What?
No, I was wondering, did they teach English in school at all when you got to America?
Listen real good. I'm so far, I started to tell you that's where I was born, and I was 11 and a half, just maybe a month over than 11 and a half, and they decided to bring the whole family here to New York. Now I'm in New York at 11 and a half, and by the time they settle down and find an apartment and do all that, you got to put your mind together. This is a long time ago. And then we come here. When I said I was 11 and a half, I never been to school and anywhere. And if I was in school in the island up from the hills, for me to go to school, I would have to do about 4 miles or 5 miles down the hill and then to the plains to be able to. And that's not taking a bus or a horse or a burro or nothing. That would be me walking all that by myself. And that was not going to happen. So I was never in school ever when I came here. And by the time they settled down and had an apartment and my father found work and everything was settled, the whole family, now it's already a heavy year, almost a heavy year later by the time that happened. And that's when they're going to put me in school. And what do you think of a 12-year-old in school? What grade you think that they're going to put you in here in New York? They're going to put you somewhere?
Probably not 7th, right? I mean, if you haven't been to school yet, you're probably not going to...
12 years old, but they keep thinking, 12 years old, they're going to put you in school for the first time. First of all, I don't speak English. I don't know my alphabets at all because I've never been to school. I'm Spanish. I don't know English. And they put you on the 4th grade to be nice. So this way, at least you're already 12 years old. You should be in the 7th grade. But they put you on the 4th grade. And now you're sitting there, haba, because you don't understand nothing what's going on. Can you imagine the torture what I went through as a kid, 12 years old, and they put you in school with a whole bunch of jabroni. Let me finish. With a whole bunch of jabroni kids, they're going to make fun at you. Can you imagine what I went through until I was able to communicate a little bit? By the time I was in 6th grade, at least I was already trying to communicate. Never learned my ABCs. Not in Spanish and not in English. Never learned my timetable on time because my grandson, who's here now, he's only 5.5 years old. He could sing the alphabet like a rock and roll. He's smart. He's using the tablet. He's using the phone better than me. He goes on the phone and he knows what to do with it. Well, he grew up. He born into it. Though. But not Johnny Rodz, not this guy here. This guy here went through hell in the sense of growing up in a different world, from one place to another. And by the time you 15, 16, 17, or 16, by the time you're 15 and 16, it's when you start learning a little bit of something. your grades, you can't make your grades in the sense that so you wind up at the 7th or 8th grade, either you go to a shop school or something, which I did. Went to Chelsea Automotive to see if I could, they switched me over there to see if I could at least get something out of school. Well, I defend myself, but then by that time I'm already doing little wrestling in the boys club. I'm doing a little wrestling in the YMCA. I'm going around doing a little Tai Chi and Judo and stuff like that with people from the neighborhood because, we were very close to Chinatown. I learned a lot of stuff from that, martial arts bullshit that you get involved with, whether you want to be doing that or not, but you fell in love with the things that you see, you practice. I did a little boxing. I did a little bit of everything that had to do with grappling and shit, from boxing to amateur wrestling to like I said, judo or whatever. The thing is that when by the time they were able to get a TV from my father was able to buy a Dumont. It's like a round TV, a big box with a big round face. And they stopped watching TV, so now we're going to watch cartoons, and we're going to watch Cowboys, Superman, Batman, Howdy Doody. Oh my God, you're watching all those, something that a lot of people don't even know about now that was on TV. Well, they had wrestling. Wrestling is one of the things that come in once a week, and my mother fell in love with it, and she loved wrestling. Now, because my mother loved wrestling, we can't watch nothing else when wrestling was on, and then you can't sit next to her either, because if you sit next to her, she'll knock you out. She'd be cursing and she'd be talking to the guy and tell him, why don't you do this and why don't you do that? And my father say, Juana, they don't hear you. You can't be next to my mother because she was very rough when it came to wrestling. Well, we all watch wrestling. I watched wrestling. So we kept watching wrestling. Whenever they say they're going to be in Madison Square Garden or anywhere in Sunnyside Garden or anywhere nearby, mostly in Madison Square Garden, St. Nicholas Arena, where right today I don't even think anybody remembers St. Nicholas Arena all the way on 59th Street, on the other side of the, next to the Central Park there was an old arena called St. Nicholas Arena. And it was either there sometime or Madison Square Garden, the old garden. So would shine shoes and make enough money. I would have to make $6 shining shoe from a quarter to 50 cents. At that time, then, you shine it for a quarter and they'll give you 50 cents. Okay. Then I make sure that I have $6 and then the subway token, and then I'll be able to go very early during the 2 months before the show, and make sure that I got ringside ticket, one for my mother and one for myself. And the only way I could do that if I was 14 years old, because if I wasn't 14 years old, they won't let you go in the Madison Square Garden at that time. Well, I always got the ringside tickets way up in front because I made sure I got there early, and then I had my money. So my mother and I would go. The most famous guys that were there at that time, way back, they were baby faces, and my mother would be that's their hero. It would be Antonino Rocca and Miguel Perez against the Graham brothers or Scott Murphy and Rubino and beautiful Bobby Davis at the time, strolling around with a sequin jacket, and my mother would take her shoes and go after them. Well, I will sit there and control her, but I was almost ready to help her too because we were really mad fans. I was in love with them, Antonino Rocca and Miguel Perez, and they were the greatest when they were wrestling. And I was such a mark that when I really started way back, I would do a local show, local area show or something, a Mickey Mouse show. I would be barefooted. That's it. My trunks barefooted, and I would call. My name was Johnny Roca. That's when I was a real mark in the beginning, and that's a lot of years. So that beginning, from there on, continuously, I kept looking for areas or anybody that had anything to do with any kind of wrestling, whether it was amateur wrestling or whatever it was. I was always involved in something until all the way through that, from that 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. And, it's funny that you keep going, and you don't know that you're going to make it. You don't know what you're going to do, because the way where you're from, how you are, you're not an elite character from the University of, I don't know, you name it, out west or something, and then you're an amateur wrestler there, and you get the background, or you're a football player, or rugby, these guys that come in with all the background, elites, and they become wrestlers, and they got good storyline about the beginning of their life in the sense of who they are. Well, that was my early time, and the sense of how I went and was able to continue hunting around, and my nose was on everything that they had to do with the fan club. So I joined for 1 year the Antonino Roca and Miguel Perez fan club on the west side, way up to 28th Street and 9th Avenue, something like that. And it was just a hype for them to make money, and they had a big hall, and they had some lady control it, and joined Antonino Roca and Miguel Perez. So, believe it or not, they wanted $150 for the year. Well, and that's a lot of money in that time. But I made sure I joined that, and they had at least 150 characters, young people on a big floor, a whole floor, and they'd be doing calisthenics, they'd be doing squad. Then those two characters would come in when they were, not all the time, they just come in maybe once or twice just to draw the draws, and then some character be in the stage doing calisthenics, like they do in the Army, and everybody's lined up because we're all fans. That's how I started. And then they decided to do like a wrestling, they call it wrestling school today. In those days, they called it a wrestling club in 42nd Street and 9th Avenue between 9th and 10. So I was part of that, but then it didn't last a half a year because I don't know. And then I wound up someplace else, and I kept going and going. I wound up in Brooklyn doing more stuff there until I was able to get a shot in Capital Wrestling Corporation. Well, Capital Wrestling Corporation was that time. In that time, Arnold Skolin would be there all the way through. And I started knocking on their doors on 42nd Street there by the Holland Hotel, where he used to be. And, I bothered him once, twice. Then I go to 54th Street at the other office and knock there. And to Bobby, by the fourth time, he called me and says, I think I have a substitute for you. I'm going back quite a few years. And I got myself a shot in Comac, Long Island. That's the first time ever. And I wrestled, I think Don McClarity. I think he was in for one time. In that time, for a little while, I think he went away and came back, something like that. And I never paid attention to that, but it was Don McClarity. And I wrestled 15 minutes with him, put that guy over. He thought it was a good match. He told Arnold Skolin, this guy is not bad, blah, 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 blah. And I wind up in Sunnyside Garden. From Sunnyside Garden, second time, he asked me what name that I used the first time because he wasn't paying attention. I said Johnny Rodriguez. He says, "Oh man, I got 2 more Rodriguez in the dressing room on Sunnyside Garden. Can't you find another? Get another name. And you're on 5 minutes. You're on second. Come back and give me something different." That's when I said to myself, "What the heck am I going to call myself? That's my name." But the other guys were already in the dressing room. They were just local yokels, and they were just working that night. But so I went there and I just said, Johnny Rodriguez, Johnny Rodri, Johnny Rod, R-O-D. I said, that's no good, Rod. But then I liked the idea was short, so I said, wait a minute. If I take the Z from the end and put it after the D and put a period on it, it's like an abbreviation of Rodz. I said, I put it on. I said, how about Johnny Rodz? He goes, that's good enough for me. The rest was history. Johnny Rod's name was born. But even though that it's only Rodz, and it don't sound Spanish, but it's an abbreviation of Rodriguez, because that's 4 letters, and that's why I did the Rod and then in Z, and then I put a period, and I said, Rodz, it's good. So I said, Johnny Rodz, okay, that's good. From there on, I wrestled in Sunnyside Garden, then I wrestled in Trenton, New Jersey, and the 4th match was in Madison Square Garden for the first time. I don't know, I think I'm going back to 1963. So,
wow. There's a database on the internet, and they have a list of all of your matches, but it doesn't go all the way. It doesn't go to 63. It goes to 65.
The reason why it doesn't go there, because just as much as they don't know, that's when Bruno Sammartino took the belt away from Buddy Rogers.
Mm-hmm.
That's way back. I mean, when I did the podcast with Briscoe not too long ago, and they wanted to know, Johnny, were you there in the dressing room? That's all they wanted to know. They were a big smile. Are you there? Were you there in the dressing room? I said, I was there. What did you know? I said, I don't know nothing. All I heard some noise in the back, and then they were going on to the ring. I went into the ring, and 5 minutes later, he had the belt. So I have no idea. I can't tell you anything else.
Wow, that's incredible.
If you really understand what I just said, everybody wants to know. But if you're that young and you're that you're not, your nose is not all the way through to see what everything happened, and then you don't know what it is until years later when you find out. And that sounds like a little shooting. Somebody took the belt.
Yeah. So when was your first pro match? Because the internet thinks that you debuted in 65. When was your first?
My first match, I just told you. He asked me. I didn't go through the whole thing, but by the 4th time that I knocked on the door, I went into 54th Street, 8th, whatever it is, uptown, where the office was, and he says, you leave me the number, and I call you. He finally called, and I got a call, and he says, I need you for Coma, Long Island. I went, and that's what I told you. I wrestled Don McCarthy. That was my
first year was that? Do you remember what year? Do you remember what year?
Well, to tell you the truth, that's when it was, like in 1963.
63. All right. Wow.
Because I go back that far. Just beginning, that doesn't mean you get started and you're on TV all the time and you're this all the time. You're not. You do a couple of shots, and sometimes it takes months before you get more. You just gotta hang on and listen. That's the first shot. The second shot, Sunnyside Garden, but 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later, then another 2 or 3 weeks more, almost a month. They asked to go to Trenton, New Jersey, and then maybe a month later they say, come on down to the garden and bring your bag and see for me. I think I have a substitute. Working on the garden that far back, I couldn't walk. Once I finished that night and I came back home to the street, my ears were touching both sides. So if I walk in the middle of the street, my ears were I'm getting cauliflower ear because they rob on the buildings. My head was so big. And you imagine how you feel when your friends, all your friends who practice wrestling with you, tell you, welcome you to, oh my God, congratulations. My chest got big, my bicep was bigger, I was taller. Because
Johnny, I see by 65 you're in there working against Miguel Perez. What did your mom think? What did your mother think of you being in there against all these TV star superhero grown up?
The funny part about it is once you start in that time, I will not be working with Miguel Perez that quick. I'll be working different things. Actually, when I first started, every time they called me down to go do anything, I'll be working with Arnold Skolin. The first match or the second match, the first match or the second match. That's what I'll be doing, Arnold Skolin. Because also the reason for that is that I live downtown and he was on 42nd Street. Say I take the D train to 42nd Street, walk over to 8th Avenue, and ask him, "Can I go with you to the arena?" Because I don't know. I was nobody in the sense of it's not like you have a car or you know where you're going. You're a supermark beginner, but the booker is Arnold Skolin, and he's there, got the big Cadillac, and if you ask him, "Can I get a ride with you?" he'll take you, and it will cost you 3 cents a mile. So I started like that. So normally I would travel with him in the beginning most of the time, and most of the time he would test me because he would work with me 15, 20 minutes because he was wrestling too. So whether your first match or second match, and he would test you to see if you're really worthwhile being booked. It's a little different test than the test they do today, and then the tryouts they do today. It's a total different package. The mentality of the people doing wrestling, the mentality of the people doing tryout today, it's a different world today, you know?
Yeah. Eventually you would be in that spot. You would be a gatekeeper. People would wrestle you, and if they could work with you, you were kind of a yardstick. You were kind of a test for a lot of people to see if they should keep working there and get high. We're going to get to that. I'm mesmerized, Johnny. I am mesmerized because you are such a prolific trainer and you've trained so many people so well to such success. I am mesmerized. I want to take one quick step back. Who trained you? Where and how and from who did you get your pro wrestling training?
Can you imagine how far away you are from me to the mind? And I don't blame you because how old are you now?
I'm 48.
Oh my God, you're the same age as my daughter, right?
Yeah, we went to school together.
I know. Tiffany and you guys went in the same. That's what you guys studied. See, so here's what happened. You're talking like who trained me? Well, I told you what I did when I was young, from the age of 15, 16, 17, 18, I would work out in the. I told you. I started going to the YMCA. I started going to the boys club. I would go to a settlement house where they have stuff that they do like wrestling. I was just I said it before, and you got to pay attention to the fact of I said I'm not from the College of Arizona or Texas or you know where I'm coming from. You ask You asked that DiBiase, he tells you, oh, I did this, and I was a wrestler in college, and amateur wrestler, and I played football, and I wasn't that type of guy. I was a kid who was born in the hills, way up in the hills of Puerto Rico, raised down here in the concrete jungle of Little Italy, New York, and then grew up in the Lower East Side of New York City, and then continue on bouncing around from bump to bump because, like I said, I didn't even get to learn my ABCs until I never could learn the ABC because you got to practice ABC when you're 4 years old and in kindergarten or whatever the heck it is, pre-K. So my growing up all along, for anything you ask, it was torture to me all the way through now because you go into a world, you get involved with something, and you wind up being somebody in the sense of like myself. You don't have no beginning. Your beginning, there is no answer. And who taught you? No, nobody taught me. I taught myself.
Johnny, there were, not to cut you off, but there were no indies at the time, right? There were no independents. There was no bootlegs.
No, there were. They always had Mickey Mouse places. Yes,
outlaws.
But put your mind together because you're going ahead of yourself. Put your mind together. I said, whenever there was anything, it was always private clubs of a social club type where somebody put up some Mickey Mouse ring and they were kind of wrestle every Friday night, and then maybe they could get 50 people inside the place. The ring will be stuck to the floor. It won't be the ring that you're looking at today. They would sell beer and whiskey, and they have a floor, they have a pool table, that kind of a club. It will be 20 characters, 25 characters. They will have they chip in together, they pay the rent, they do everything together, and they practice wrestling, if you call it wrestling. They're crowbars. They kill each other. It's more like crowbar wrestling. No, there's nothing. They may believe they're wrestling professional and they're walking around with the chest out, but they're crowbars. They don't know how. They don't know how to take bumps. They don't know how to. They don't know anything. All they know is they go in there and they practice wrestling what they think they see on TV, and they're grown up guys. But that's the thing they did. Well, I wind up in 25 characters, and we had our own club, and it lasted about 2 years, and I was the only one that made it out of the club because everybody else thought who were they, and I always look around and search around and did more research in the sense trying to get in. And by the time they opened their eyes, I was already done 4 matches, and they were still trying to do different things. That's a different storyline up to there, because if I keep going, it's going to change the fact that what I did in the way beginning when I came to this country, in the sense of being a kid from a different place, the way I just told you, into that time already when I'm past the 4th grade, past the 5th grade, past the 6th grade, and the 7th grade. I'm already freaking almost 18 years old. You understand? So I'm doing things. I'm doing calisthenics. I'm doing chin bars. I'm doing, like I said, I tried a little bit of everything, and because this is me. The thing is, I fell in love with it because my mother watched it, and then I'm trying to get. We wind up with this wrestling club, which is, to me, what an embarrassment it is to call it wrestling, professional wrestling. These guys are all glory hounds in the same. They treat each other. We had a club with a pool table, like I said. We had a bar inside. We had a whole building that we rented. And then that's my beginning of saying practice wrestling. There was nobody professional teaching anybody. And then after that, I wind up in Brooklyn. Even after I had already a few matches, I wind up in Brooklyn with Gypsy Rodriguez, Tomas Marin, what's his name from? They was in California and he disappeared. Puerto Rican guy, the tall guy. Now I lost his name. But anyway, I'll be there with Carl Gotch came in with Barbaroja. They came in from Europe because Barbaroja, that's the guy, the president when they went on 25th Street. He wasn't wrestling here. They came to New York. I don't think they hired him then. But I wound up training with him for, I would say maybe 5 months. If you train with Carl Gotch for 5 months, you could call yourself a shooter.
Yeah.
And it was me. Oh, Victor Rivera. Remember Victor Rivera was pretty good?
Yeah. Yeah.
Victor Rivera, myself, Gypsy Joe. You know Gypsy Joe, he just passed away in a year or so, right? You heard of Gypsy Joe, right?
Yep.
No?
Yes, sir. No, absolutely, yeah.
Well, Gypsy Joe was my first tag team partner way back local. And that's when that's when they started doing a wrestling club in New Jersey, a wrestling club in Brooklyn, a wrestling club in Manhattan. But these are private wrestling clubs. They're not wrestling schools. They call it social club, the wrestling club. And me and Gypsy Rodriguez used to be tag team partners, and he wasn't a pro. He was just a local yoko. But he was my partner. He was pretty damn tough. And we go down on a Friday night or Saturday night, we wrestle in Brooklyn, then we go to New Jersey and wrestle at the end of the show. So we were doing those things before we even really on the road. He never made it in New York. He went to Tennessee and he stayed there, and he traveled to Japan quite a bit, and he became pretty famous out in Tennessee and in Japan. That's why you know about Gypsy Joe. Gypsy Joe never wrestled for WWF. And Victor Rivera, yes, did real good. But Victor Rivera and I all come from the same neighborhood. You understand? He was from Brooklyn. I was from Manhattan. We knew each other from way back. And he was pretty good grappler, you know. We used to kind of shoot a little bit together. And that's my beginning. That's the way I used to, I don't have that elite, fancy stuff from the beginning like everybody. They expect everybody to have that. Not everybody has that. I'm one of the characters that it's from the raw to the end. I thank God that I guess Vince Sr., when I started and I did what I did, like I said, I wrestled on a squad practically every night whenever I would wrestle, and he will always push you because he be the tester for anybody that came in young and they wanted to know if you got a good attitude or what kind of a character they are. But he be the one in the ring because he was the tester for anybody in case they want to be a little tough, a little knucklehead. Well, Arnold Skolin was the guy that will give you the lesson. You know what I mean?
Well, like I said, in a certain way, what I've heard, Johnny, from what I've heard, in a way, you take over that spot. And there was a time where you for sure were a gatekeeper of sorts. Now, I want to fast forward a little bit. You're local in WWWF. You're in the territory where you live, where you grew up, and you work the Garden and Sunnyside Garden and the Spectrum. and all those places probably for about 11 or 12 years, I think, from 63 or so until about 75. And then looking back at history at these databases and seeing your matches, unpredictable to say the least, because 1975 ends, the last week of 1975, you are defeated by disqualification by Mark Tendler in Sunnyside Gardens. 1 week, 7 days later, to start 1976, new year, fresh start, new name, and Java Rook, not Johnny Rodz, Java Rook defeats Tony Rocco. So that's going to be my next question, Johnny, is 1975 ends, you're here in New York City. 1 week later, 1976 begins. You're getting put over so strong in L.A. that
what happened? You're going. You went from 75 to jump into 76, but by 76 was it was at the end of almost at the end of the year, and I wind up in that happened. That whole thing happened in this way. I've been all over the place. Remember one thing. Today we're going according to what do you call records of this and records of that, because it's so far back. Remember, we don't have computers in the sense of we don't even know what a beeper is, and you go way back, everything is raw. The only thing you're going to see, if they have TV in a certain area once a week, that's all you're going to see. It's TV once a week. At that time, there is no media of any kind. There is no, what we have today. But what happens is, no matter what records they find from a certain character like myself coming that far back, they're not going to have what I did all over the place. There is no way to catch up with different records. You might catch. You're talking of already 70-something. Oh yes, 70-something. Yes, you got this TV. You got this piece. You got that piece. You mentioned Mark Tendler. Mark Tendler was not. He was just a local yoko in the sense of a wrestler. He wasn't. He wasn't not. I don't want to. The guy is gone, but I don't want to knock the guy that's gone in the sense that he's one of us in the sense of the professional wrestler. It was a local. We call it local yoko who gets put on the neighborhood. He didn't travel nowhere. He didn't go nowhere.
Was a Long Island guy, Long Island Queens guy.
Exactly. So let me finish. He was more like a friend of the booker who was a bouncer in different places. The guy, he was a bouncer in elite restaurants in the city where, a lot of wealthy people go. He bounced around there. Arnold Skolin will go to those places. He would take care of Arnold Skolin with the doing and that. So if they're going to go to Long Island, or they're going to go around the neighborhood of Sunnyside Garden, of course the Arnold Skolin is going to book them there. More like, I'm not knocking the guy, but he was not a professional wrestler of the type. He was just a big guy who looked okay. And he went to wrestle. He's a local, and he gets a shot once in a while. And of course, if they put him against me, which was already a runner, I got to put him over because he's a local yoko doing kissing butt. But that's the way I felt, and that's the way it was. Let's not even go. Let's not even go there. There was. He's not the only one. Here we go. Luca Brasi. Remember Luca Brasi?
Just from the movie.
Okay, I wrestled him at the place in Brooklyn, at the Prosper Hall. Remember the Prosper Hall? I wrestled him there. I wrestled Mark Denler there. I wrestled Ted Lewin, not Mark Lewin, Ted Lewin. You guys
know he visited in my high school. Yeah, I know. He came for Author's Day one time because he wrote a book, and I wound up after it chewing his ear off about wrestling. But yeah, Ted Lewin, I know who you're talking about.
Ted Lewin, matter of fact, we were, of all the Lewin brothers, there's three of them, I was very close with Ted until he died, let's say 5 years ago. He lives over here near right in 5 minutes from the gym in Brooklyn here, and my wife and I we went out quite a bit, and we were very close in the sense of being buddies. And we used to go out together and eat, even when got nothing to do with the wrestling business. So the Lewin brothers, yes, I know them very well. Mark Lewin, Don Lewin, I know less because Don Lewin was away and he passed away. But then Mark Lewin, I very, very well, and Ted was the closest with me. Okay, I bless all those local guys a lot, because that was good for them, for me to put them over for Arnold and the company. I did a lot for the company in the sense of what they give you because you're a local yoko, in the sense. Yes, but if you're like me, local yoko, like I said, you get to go out if you stick with it. And I was all over the place. Then I was okay to be able to take care of myself when they needed somebody to test somebody that they like, but just because the guy got 20-inch arm and looks good, that doesn't mean that they're going to keep him, or they want to find out what temperature he has or what attitude. And there was no test like today. So they need to put him in the ring as a regular match. Hey, Johnny, do me a favor. Can you get this guy over about 18 minutes? Or fuck yourself somehow. And okay, if I'm going to be with an attitude to say, why do I have to put him over? Then it has to be that either I'm not going to get a work, or it's going to be a shoot, or what. That's not the business. The business is a game. You want to be in it, they tell you this is what I want. They want to test the guy because he's brand new. Well, who the fuck is going to test them? They got to have somebody to put them over, see what this guy's all about, or fuck yourself somehow and then put them over. Well, you do it. You do it because it's an order, whether you like it or not. But if the guy doesn't know that he's been put over, and he thinks that he's not that smart, well, then you have not only you have to defend yourself and look good. Make them look good, but also defend yourself. And then it's more like a semi-shoot in the way you testing people that they don't know they've been tested. You know what I mean? It was a hard game at my time. Today is a total different package. Everything is explosion promotion. Everything is fancy. Everything is glittering. Everything is order. They're making not hundreds of thousands, they're making millions today, and there is no more respect in the sense what the game really was. Okay, so it's a big time thing. Sometimes big time don't last so long. Sometimes last quite a few years, and then all of a sudden it kind of deletes, because you could tire people no matter how much they wanted. What do you pay for a WrestleMania ticket? Is it up front? Right. $2,000-$3,000. That's fucking ridiculous. And it's a total commercial thing. It's not no more. There's no more. Can't be no more. And there's no argument on it, whether you like it or not, or do you know about it. The only time that you hear a different negativity about the business is when you talk to an old timer like myself. And then we're all the same. You're going to hear the same thing, or then you're not going to get no answer, because you follow what I'm saying?
I do. So, but
you say, hey, Joe, la 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 la, and the guy says, well, you know, la, la. He's going to tell you something, but he's not going to knock it. He's not going to knock it, or you're not going to go to the answer because he doesn't care. He says, what the heck do I have to give you any information of how it was or how it is? And I don't either, but it depends. It depends who I'm talking to. You know, sometimes you talk to somebody and they make a big deal out of it. And this guy said, and this guy, but nobody cares. It's just it's time value, what went on then and what it goes on today. There's a million things that went on years ago, and there's a million things that go on today. But today, nobody's interested. It's all a big flash, or all a big show. Everything is money, 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 money. And that's it. And can I say I wish I was in it now? I don't know. I have no idea. Life is, you know, you're born in a different time, and no matter who you are, or no matter how big of a name you are or how great you are, it's a totally different package. I mean, we made a couple of dollars a week, a month, and then it depends on how the building of how do you build the business. Today, these guys got millions in them, and they became movie stars. And I didn't see Bruno making millions and being a movie star. And then they were on top of the garden all the time. Sure, they probably made $150,000 a year because they were top. So you say that's all? Well, the subway ride was only 15 cents. Okay, so you know you could go to Needix and for $1.59 you get a donut and a coffee and a scrambled egg. You're talking different time. I live in the city in 1976 when I was Java Roof. My rent with the whole floor was only by cats was only $179.76. That same floor today is almost $6,000. So you see, that will give you an idea how far back from 1976 to now, how much different the rent is. It's ridiculous.
Well, Bruno's, I mean, like you say, Bruno's $150,000 was basically $3 million because it was 15 cents to ride the train, and now it's $3. You know what I mean?
Well, I just threw that in because here's a guy on top and sell out the garden. Well, he doesn't sell out the garden by himself because if it was him and the one he saw and there's no other matches, there won't be no sellout. It's a group of individuals, what people like. He would just be the main event like anybody. You could take Joe Blow and he'd be the main event. He might sell out the garden. He might make $100,000. It is what it is, and then that was a different time. Today, everything is. There was no dolls to be sold. There was no ice cream with your name on it like Hulk Hogan. You know, people have to understand that it's a total different package today, and this is the way it is. When I went to California and Vince says they want you there. Would you want to go? You want to be the next Sheik? I said, yeah, if I could get $1,500 a week, that was good payday. Well, they told me yes. They said they're going to pay. There was no contract. It's all about mouthpiece. Well, they did. They paid me $1,500 a week, but as soon as they could see they could play games, then it'll be $1,200, $1,000. And then you have to start arguing with them because you know. And then all that was part of me being Java Rook. When I got Java Rook in California and win the 22-man battle royale, you're an international champion. Everybody in the world that's a private who has a corporation of pro wrestling wants you in their main event at least one shot or twice. They fly you over and they kiss your ass just because now you're going to draw because everybody knows that you're an international champion. There was only one.
up with the name? Who came up with Java Rook? Did you come up with that, or did the office?
And I'm gonna give you that. You remember that Bruno Sammartino was a promoter in Pittsburgh, right?
Correct. Yes.
And he had TV in Pittsburgh with Bill Cardell.
Yes.
So now, because he had that for a while, remember the Guido Mongo?
Yes. Yep.
When he came in the beginning, he was a small guy, maybe weighed 230 pounder, 240 pounder. He wasn't a big guy, you know, and he was working, and he was just getting the same bullshit that everybody else is getting, the payday doing your working. And he was here from Canada, and he says, one day we're coming all the way from Washington, D.C., you know, it was a bad weather, and he's sitting in the back, Arnold Skolin is driving, and he's all fucking hot about, making no money, look at this fucking shit. And he says, one of these days, I'm going to buy Bruno's territory, and I'm going to become a promoter. So I turned my face to the left, and I said, don't forget to book me when you become a promoter, you know, put me over. It was a joke. He said it, that he wanted to buy the territory. How the fuck he's going to buy the territory? You know, he would have to have a lot of money. So he said it, and he was in New York, and he went away. He wasn't the Mongol. He went away. I don't know how long it took him, a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever the fuck it was. He came back, and this guy, he looked like 260, 270, bald-headed. He came in with Joe, and they're the Mongols with those big things and wrapped around in there. They look fantastic. Yep. They come in, and they did nothing but money. They drew, and they did nothing. Well, $65,000 he bought the territory from Bruno. I know because that's where I got it from his mom. Now he's promoting TV in Pittsburgh, and then I get to go to work on TV because I went there before. And then they got Batman, they got Johnny Ratio, and they got everybody. You know, he's got the talent because, you know, Vince will give him the talent, and so is Bruno and everybody. Well, when he first goes there, he says, I'm running in Pittsburgh because they do the big shows, they do TV, and they do a couple of houses, and we come back this way. The funny part about it, he wants to put me on TV, but he goes, because remember, when I told him, when you buy the territory, remember, you give me work. He said, yeah, but it was a joke. But now that he's got it, I say, hey, are you going to put me on? He said, sure, I'm going to put you on. But now he says, but I don't want to use Johnny Rodz. I want to put you on. I said, well, what do you want? He said, maybe you could be an Arab. I got an initial JR on the boots in my trunk. So now I've been to Pittsburgh, but also nobody cares. So I said, I cut a sheet. I cut a piece of the thing from the curtains on one show on the bottom. I wrapped it around my head. I came up with the name Java Rook and myself. And he says, I love it. I went in, I worked with Batman. Remember Batman?
I remember there was a wrestling Batman, yeah.
Yeah, Italian guy who lived in Pittsburgh. He was a local Yoko. The same thing Johnny Professor. You know, they were local guys. So they wrestled over there, but then they were not scattered around. And you know, if you don't scatter around, it's not like today everybody knows you. So I did that, but it was on Pittsburgh TV, and then from there we used to go to Cleveland TV and do it, and then in that area, but only that area. Nobody knew down here that I'm Jabaruk. Over here was Johnny Rodz. So when Vince says one night in Reading, Pennsylvania, at the Crystal Room, him having done, he says, if you see Johnny Ross around the lobby, can you tell him that I want to see him? I go in, and he says, Johnny, California, Mike LaBelle and those guys want to know. They want to know if I want to go there and be the next Sheik, because the Sheik used to be there, but they got rid of him because he did too much blood. So the houses started going down. You know, too much of everything, the people get a little upset. So I said, yeah, I will go to Pittsburgh, but I want $1,500 a week. Because if I live in New York with 2 kids and I go to California, how the heck am I going to support them? You know what I mean? I would have to send a lot of money. It was a lot of money at the time, but it's 1976, past the middle of 76, almost at the end. So I have to have that because I have to not only pay for my bills here, but I have to pay for my bills over there because you have to live somewhere. So I was in Santa Monica, and we have a place with all the rest of the state. You pay for your rent, and you pay for everything, but you need $1,500 a week. You know, they said yes, so I just prepared myself, got my gimmick, and went over there, and I started. The only thing is, I don't speak Arab. I only know one word, khalas. I practiced that. People thought I was there because I was pretty good performer with that. I think I was excellent. And I got over, and they gave me the Battle Royale. So now I'm over but then I don't have a manager that could do the promo for me because I was playing like a wild man, like somebody who's scared of the world. Piper was there for a year already, and he was what they call a half a year visa worker. Otherwise, he's Canadian, and he had to have a visa for half a year, and half a year before the half a year is up, they renew it, and that's how he was working. They put him. He was working all over the place, and he was okay, but he wasn't hot. He wasn't. He was just a worker, a Canadian, from Canada. So he was so pissed off that they could not give him a full year visa, and he got mad. He says, "I'm going to work this half a year, and then I'm fucking leaving." That's just at the end of that 76, and I said. And don't fucking leave, brother. I said that. I would love to have you as a manager, and we could play the game. Well, I said, let's go to the office. Let's talk to the fucking Mike LaBelle and those guys. We went. Oh, he's a baby face. We want him like that. I said, but shit, I need a manager. He said, well, get you somebody. But they didn't do it. So again, next week, again the second week, I said, I'm going back. Come on, let's go. I went back and I told him, I kept pushing the booker, and then, we got to talk to Mike, blah, blah, blah. Okay, the next TV, hey guys, come on down. We want to talk to you. Okay, we come down. Tonight, we got an idea. Piper, you're going to work with Rook. And 3 minutes, Baruch, you beat the shit out of him. You come outside, grab the mic, and say, do you rather switch than fight, like the cigarette? Like Winston's cigarette, like the cowboy. Right. I look at Piper. Piper look at me and say, well, that's a great idea. Well, it wasn't their idea. It was my idea and Piper's idea, but the motherfuckers, they steal it from you. Well, we did it. The rest was history. We got so fucking hot that we used to get shot at when we did TV. So it was good, but then they stopped fucking with my money. The only main event, the only big shot that I did when I was in L.A. is that they sent me over to the Cow Palace for that big show there, and I worked with Dory Funk Jr. 15 minutes. He did an ass bump to the finish with me, and the promoter says, I hear you're pretty good. And I said, well, I don't know. Well, let me see. And then I worked with him 15 minutes. Not only they flew me there, hotel, everything, They finished the match. They gave me an envelope with $1,000 in it, and they paid everything. I said, now that's what I'm talking about. Now I know why you're only world champion of the Battle Royale for 1 year, because everybody wants to use you because you draw. See, you're the biggest news. Who won the Battle Royale? It's like WrestleMania today. So
Yeah.
I went on that trip. I never used the room they gave me because Mr. Fuji was there for the first time I met him. He says, brother, you stay with me on my condo. We had a beautiful Eldorado convertible. Took me to the airport and got me drunk, and then the rest was history. But then these some bitches didn't stop playing with my money then and stop playing with different things. So, and then not only that half, but the half of me being there and not at home in New York with my family when my ex-wife did not like the idea, you understand? And then my son was a little bit 14 years old, so already thinking he's a big boy running around with the girls, and then my ex-wife didn't like it, So I had to come home and try to fix the bridge, but it was impossible. So the rest is history. I had to leave California. They didn't like it, but I could not help myself. And then Vince says, okay, you're going to have to go back on 77 for another Battle Royale. They switched to those battles. I had a main event with the Chavo while they did the Battle Royale that night, and then the rest is history. They put somebody over, and I come home, and I fixed the bridge for Vince McMahon Sr. because I made him look bad that I left him, and then not even gave him notice, This is what it was with Jabba Rook in California. Nobody knew nothing because there was no media then,
Well, I was before the internet, before everything went digital, when everything was on videotape, on VHS, I had a lot of footage of you from California from the 70s, and I was very familiar with Jabba Rook. But, 2 years later, you do it again.
Yeah, but what happened? What happens to those footage?
What happened?
What happened to the video footage that you have from Jabba Rook?
I still have it. I mean, my VCR is not hooked up right now, but I mean, in storage.
You got VCR. What kind of VCR you need? I got a whole bunch. I got downstairs in my cedar room. Not only I got that, I got so much shit downstairs of VCRs and everything. I don't even know what to do with it.
I'm trying to find California tapes. Maybe I'll come over one day. That's how close we live. I'll bring my California.
And I tell you, I would love to have some look at the Jabba Rook from that time. I only see one little bit sometime they show. So, oh my God.
I have some. But 2 years later, you did it again.
You got to be kidding me. Now you're going to mess me up,
I absolutely have California tapes from the 70s. But in 77, 78, you did it again, Johnny. The 77 ends. The last week of 77, you're working for Vince Sr. And 78 begins. And just like 2 years earlier, when you did about 6 weeks in California, this time in 78, you do 6 weeks in Japan. Was this your first time leaving?
Boy, you follow me around pretty good.
Yeah. Was this your first time leaving North America? Was this your first time going international for wrestling? And tell us what it's like to go on a 6-week tour of Japan at the beginning of 1978.
Well, it's like I said, how do you feel is that you're from here, and then you've never been so far away from home, and that's okay. You could do it, but you go to Japan, especially Japan, you're dying to go there because the money's good, and that's what the history is all about. But after the second week, you start to get homesick because it's all totally different package. But after the second week and third week, you still got another 3 weeks or 4 weeks to go. You're like, oh my God, when do I get out of here? And yet you come home just a month later, you want to go back because it's so great. Japan is one of the best places to go and do the wrestling.
What was the money,
so
the respect, the food, the money, the respect, the food, the atmosphere? What's so much different than, because starting out as a New York City guy, a couple of years earlier you went to California. What is so different between making the shift from New York and California to making the shift and doing the 6 weeks in Japan?
Well, no. At that time they treat you so professional that when you get up from the plane in the airport and you get out and you get your bags, they leave out, I would say, three wagons, or the bus, the big Mercedes bus waiting outside. There'll be 3 or 4 guys grabbing your bags. The bottom workers, they be there waiting for you. They take your bag, they put it in the bus. You don't have to carry nothing. You sit in that big Mercedes bus, beautiful bus with air conditioning. They got shade. They close the windows, and they drive you back to the hotel. They check you in. They take your bags. They bring it up to the room. They tell you. They give you the records of what's going to be for the first week there, what you're supposed to do, what time is breakfast, what time is dinner, what time is this, when we win. Those guys do everything for you in the sense of how the professional they treat you, and then you don't do nothing for the first couple of days in Tokyo. They just make you comfortable. So when they're going to go on the road, they tell you, okay, 7 o'clock in the morning, they'll be knocking on your door, and then breakfast on there, and you go to breakfast, and after breakfast, you go upstairs, you get your bag, they bring it down, they grab it, they pack it in on the bus, you sit on the bus by 8:30. Before 9 o'clock, you're on the road, and then they take you on the road, and who knows where they go. You might be able to come back to Tokyo that first week or so, or a couple of times, but then once they start going on the road, you don't come back to Tokyo until the last week when they're going to do the big show before you go home. It is what it is, the way they did it. They're the best production, and professionally, how they do tours and they do their stuff. And all their guys, all the Okama boys, all the bottom guys are the ones doing everything, driving the ring. They do everything. They do everything. It's not like over here when you start, you think you're a superstar. Those guys suffer before they. Oh, and every one of them work on the show too. From the first 2, 3, 4 matches, it's them working on the show. They do everything. They do everything for the company to become someone in their field. It's not like over here. These guys, everybody's a wrestler, and not over there. But like I said, 2, 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, 5 weeks later, you're dying to get the hell out of there. For the first time, but when you come back to New York or wherever you you live, you want to go back next week because it's you miss it. You just, it's for some reason the atmosphere, it's great. You want to go back. Oh boy, do I love to go there again. But I like that, and then you can learn things from Japan. It's a total different style of attitude.
What was it like in 85 and in 90? What was it like going back to Puerto Rico after growing up there for the first 11 years, 12 years of your life before you came here? What was it like to work at Superamerico 2?
I went to Puerto Rico because Puerto Rico, I went there to, well, I told you in 76 when I had the problem, I came home. I could not get, my wife and I, we got divorced by the year 77, and then I met Tiffany's mom at the same time. That time, without even looking for anything, we just met, and the rest has been history for many years. But when I went to Puerto Rico, it was in the beginning when we got married, and we have Tiffany, and she was a baby, just a baby, real baby. I said to my wife, I said to her mother, can you babysit for at least 7 days, a week? I want to take her, not honeymooning, because we didn't do more like a little honeymoon, by me taking her to Puerto Rico and take her all the way across Puerto Rico to where I was born. So this way she know that where I come from. At least that would have been a hell of an experience for us. We hang out for a week there, just for ourselves, say a little bit honeymoon that we didn't do. But I wanted to take my wife, who born in Brooklyn, raised in Brooklyn, never been anywhere in the sense of outside of Brooklyn, except when they go a little camping when they're young. And I said, let's go to Puerto Rico. I'll take you where I was born and show you that your husband comes from the mountains. Okay, so one day when I tell you I'm a hillbilly from the mountain, know what I'm talking about. And that's what we did for 1 week. At the end of the week, Carlos Colon was dying to bring me there. So Jose Estrada was over there because he lived there. And I said, he wanted, come on down, and I want to do the medics with you. I said, I don't know if I want to do that because I already have experience that you don't want to move and go away with a new wife, new kids, and then start all over again the shit that you don't know what's going to happen. So I wasn't too keen on it, but they jumped on me and they beat me and they got me drunk and they tried to convince me, but I said, I have to think about it. Well, I came from that little holiday, came home. A week later, Jose Estrada's in New York in the Garden that night, and Vince McMahon says, Jose, can you call Johnny Rodz? And I want to speak to him. So I pick up the phone, and Vince says, Johnny, Carlos Colon is interested to know if you really want to go down and work for him to do the gimmick. And I said, I would, but if I do it, not only, you know me, I want a certain deal, and then I'm going to ask you, if I go to Puerto Rico and I do a little bit of whatever they want, and I come back from Puerto Rico, when I come back, I want to be at least a year and a half or two. I want to do nothing but babyface, and I want you to push a little bit that deal so I can make a few more dollars, and then I'm going to quit. He says, you do that, and I promise you got it. Vince was a gentleman, a scholar. When Vince tells you he's going to do something, Vince McMahon Sr. will do it. I trust him all over. Besides, when Tiffany was born, he's the one that paid for Tiffany's birth in the hospital. So I trust Vince very well. Actually, he paid for Tiffany's doctor bill because I asked him, I needed money. I said, Vince, I need about $5,000 at that time. He says, tell Honest Corner to make you a check. And I said, I'll pay you whatever. You give me work and you can take the money out. He says, don't worry about it. So Vince was okay. So I decided to go to Puerto Rico. I stayed there. We got over. We sold out a year and a half. But then they stopped fucking around. When they stopped messing around, I warned them. Don't mess with me because I'll leave you flat. They messed with me. I packed my bag after almost a year and a half. But then I told Vince when I come back from Puerto Rico, I wanted that, but then Vince died in 85. In the beginning of 85, you know that. So when I come back, Junior took over, got a new booker and new everything. they couldn't care less if I was alive.
I don't understand. And it's funny because I'm, as I'm scrolling through, that was going to be my next question. I've been waiting, I didn't want to cut you off, and I'm sorry for, I'm just so amped up and I'm eager and I'm very excited about this one. So, but I wanted you to speak your mind, and I didn't want to cut you off, but this is what's mind-boggling to me is from 63 to 85, the lion's share of your work was with WWWF, WWF, here in the territory, here in the region, Vince Sr. And what boggles my mind is that your run ends in mid-June of 85. According to the database, you worked in New Jersey, Gamma Sing, at a house show, and that was your last match. And because I think, looking at the 9-match card, I think you should have been on the first WrestleMania. You were there. You were in the company in 85. I think they should have found a way to put you on WrestleMania 1. Why do you think you weren't on WrestleMania 1? And why do you think by 2-3 months later, by June of 85, if you could expound a little bit upon the shift change and why you think there wasn't as much of a welcome for you under Vince Jr.?
Because the Junior has no, there's nothing I could say that would make anybody understand what the business was with Vince Sr. and the way they ran, and then the modern time from 85, when the father dies and the son takes over, the modern style of then doing new business, new bookers, new regime of everything. They're not interested. His mentality of a guy like myself who helped build in talent for the father, and the sense of the way the business is. I'm not angry about it. The sense is that he didn't care about me or anybody else like me, that they wasn't taking care. They brought in new everything, and they just did new stuff. They're not interested in an old timer that was there and doing favor, because that's all it'll be, a favor. So they're not interested. They're not even thinking they're doing any harm. They're just doing it because it's new business. They're not interested. They're not even thinking about anybody from behind. They're just thinking, let's do this and let's do that forward. And they're not going to be bothering. They're not going looking for anybody's sorrows because you're doing this and doing that. You see, I asked the father, and the father would have done it. And all I wanted was do another year and a half or so, and then get over, make more money, and then quit, and then I'll be happy. And the father promised him, you come back, and you come back, and no problem, you got it. But he passed away. The guy takes over. He couldn't care less if I was alive. I come back. I talked to him. I said, listen, well, I got new stuff. No, don't worry. I will book you. He will book me 2 or 3 times a month, and that was it. They're flying all over the place, and I get shit. I still have the monthly schedule, and you can look at my name. You look if you find it twice on the fucking schedule for the whole month. A guy like S.D. Jones, who I brought in the business. I brought S.D. Jones in the business. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Special Delivery Jones?
Yeah. Yep.
I'm the one that brought him to the business. Actually, I trained him for 3 months in the basement when my first son was born. And that's 59 years ago. When S.D. Jones was in the Bronx, and he says, "Can you help me out?" And I started with him, and Gorilla Monsoon needed him for Trenton, New Jersey, and he needed a substitute, and I brought him in, and that's how he got his name. He walked in the dressing room. Gino said, "Did you bring me the guy I want?" I said, "Yeah, here it is." I said, "Here it is, Special Delivery Jones." Okay, so now what happened was when he asked him, "Okay, my friend, what's your name?" He said, "Ephraim Conrad." And Gino was a funny guy. He said, "Well, what?" He said, "Ephraim Conrad." Ephraim Conrad. But then Gino says, "Ephraim Conrad." He said, "Johnny, what kind of wrestling name is that?" Because Gino didn't understand the way he talked. And I said, "Wait a minute. You asked me to bring you a guy, and I bring you this guy. Yeah, here he is, Special Delivery." He goes, "Okay, Special Delivery Jones, and you're working with him 20-minute Broadway." I said, "Holy shit." That's how he got his name right from the front. And the rest is history. Actually, they treated him better than they treated me in the length of run that he had. He worked more than me, and they put him over more than me, because now the reason for that is because they had a guy, he looked okay, but then he was black, and then they used him better because they needed a black person in the that's why he did a little bit better, you know.
Right.
You know,
right.
You got to realize they do.
And when they wanted him to be from Philly, he was from Philly, and yeah.
The reason why he talks quick is because he's from Antigua.
Yeah.
He lived in the Bronx, but he's an Antiguan. He's an island boy. And he's not from the South here. He's from the island. So he talks different. But that's S.C. Jones. I had a lot of ups and downs. Jose Estrada, I brought him into the game. All those guys, all the guys that they were there, Giselle Rodriguez. What happened is when they needed talent for putting guys over, Gorilla Monsoon, Arnold Skolin, all the bookers, they said, "Johnny, you think we could get them some guys from your area?" Just so they could go down and get squashed. Well, I brought all those guys. I told one guy, and I said, "One guy, we need 4 guys. 8 guys will come." Because, you know, they pass on the word. So this is how they did it in those days, you know. They needed people to put people over. So I used to bring them guys. So that's why I was different, you know what I mean?
Talk to you all night. There are some things. I used to go visit Professor Elliot Marin here in Brooklyn before he passed away. You made a big impression on him. He quoted you to me twice. I'm going to ask you about those quotes, but first I'm going to ask if it's true something else he told me about you, and something else that I've heard all around urban legend about you. Just like you would talk about Arnold Skolin, a lot of people talk about you, that they would send somebody out to work with you. One name I think I heard for sure is Tony Atlas when he came to the territory. They would send people out to work with you, and you would go in the ring and work with them, Madison Square Garden, wherever, and then when they would come through the curtain, you would come through the curtain second after they were already further along in the locker room, in the dressing room, whatever. Now you come through the curtain, and somebody like Arnold Skolin, one of the office guys, would put their thumb and ask you thumbs up, thumbs down. And apparently a lot of the WWF superstars, if you gave them a thumbs up, they were okay. They would keep getting booked. They would get hired. Is that true? Can you confirm that?
No, and that's not so much thumbs up and thumbs down. They use that phrase because they don't know anything else. In the sense, they don't know if they're saying the right thing or not. I don't know where that comes from, but the only person that would do that, it will be Vince watching. Well, if he's in the arena, anytime most of the time they try somebody, Vince will be there, TV or the Garden. But Vince will be the only one that will give me the thumb up because of my job. Not because
a lot of people got their
listen. He would do the thumbs up to me about me doing something that he wanted for him to make decisions himself. He's not giving thumbs up or thumbs down because there is no thumbs down. It will be thumbs up toward me doing a favor in the right way for him to make a decision that it was okay. He makes his own up and down by himself.
Yeah.
Not nobody else.
A lot of guys, is it true that a lot of guys got their tryout against you?
Well, yeah, it's not a secret no more. Ted DiBiase, who will tell you?
Yeah?
Ted DiBiase will tell you. Ted DiBiase, Tito Santana, even Tony Alders, any of those guys. That's Tony Gurria. He'll tell you.
Yeah. Wow.
Otherwise, those guys, all of them love me because the way I push them in the sense of just doing it. If I'm going to do a job, I'm not going to do a stupid job because I'm angry because I'm doing a job. I'm going to do a job so I can look good too. So I wasn't doing the job just for them. I would put myself over and then put them over. Of course. Right. Why should I put them over and look like a Frank Williams? Not Frank Williams. Frankie Williams. There's some from. Oh, you remember him?
Yeah, Frankie Williams from Columbus, Ohio. He was on a very famous episode of Piper's Pit.
He was just a local guy who didn't have he had nothing about wrestling in the sense of being a product. He was just a local guy. I want to go on TV, and he got. Well, how about Pete Sanchez?
Right.
Nobody mentions that guy. He was there before me. He started working when he was 17 years old, I think. So nobody ever mentions Pete Sanchez. Why?
Right.
He could work, but he had no fire, no charisma. Okay? Everybody talks about everybody. And what about Manny Soto, Roberto Soto, all those guys? You know?
Yeah.
They had all those guys way... The same time I started, those guys were there. The only person that was mentioned is Victor Rivera, Pedro Morales, Johnny Rodz. That's about the only guys that from that time that you're still here today. I mean, I just went to sign autographs this Saturday in New Jersey for Tommy Fury, and they had a good turnout in the sense of the way I did it, and they want me back. And then next week or so, at the end of the month, I got another one with Bud Carson up in Allentown. Yep. I mean, these guys are paying. They gave me a good payday, and I started at 2 and I finished at whatever 4 or 5, and then. They treated me great. Shit, I get a better payday doing that than I got when I fucking travel all the way to fucking Maine for a lousy fucking $50. So,
not bad for 61 years in, huh?
Huh?
Right? You're 61 years in. Not bad, huh?
Well, can you imagine that people still want my autograph? And
I can absolutely imagine it.
Can you imagine they come... almost like, oh my God, like I'm a god. They came with kids and they want an autograph. They want to take a picture of me. They buy my doll. And these people are making money with this shit. And then I just signed that year 3,000 cards for that company. And so they sent me $5,000, for me signing my name on the cards, and they're going to sell them. Sure, they're going to make money because you made your name. Your name is in history. 2,000 years from now, you Google Johnny Rodz and comes up.
Yep. Absolutely. I want to ask you, Johnny, before we go, about these 2 quotes that Professor Elliot Marin attributed to you. You ready?
Yeah.
The first one. I would sit with him. He was sick. We would talk. He would tell me all his stories from the road. And he would say that you were one of the nicest guys. You were one of the most straightforward guys. You were a real human being. You were a genuine article. And he had two different quotes that he told me that you said. The first one is, it's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice. Did you say that?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So
Here's the one that
you know what happened with him is that he was a regular guy in the neighborhood. He always, like his nose was already there. So what happened is when it comes to the pro guys, the wrestlers themselves, whether they're babyface or heel, and the guy's just a coffee getter and always want to be in the business. He's a nice guy, but some of the wrestlers figure him like a pest, okay? So some guys will be nice to him. Some guys are just, they kayfabe you. They don't want you around, So that's what Elliot was, but he didn't mean no harm. So I knew that. I said he just loves the game and he wants to help and he'll be a sucker for you. But I don't use him as a sucker. I use him as a human being, and like he was like anybody else who loves the business. So that's why he talks like that.
He says he even couriered the tapes to Channel 9. He says there were times he brought the tapes to the TV station so they could air in time. And he was doing, bringing the robes back, like a ring attendant. He would be a timekeeper sometimes. Whatever they needed. He was a little bit of on a low-level kind of guy. I think he was a better job doing it at Shea Stadium.
He became a bug in hanging around. So they said, hey, we need some coffee. Elliot's around. Call area. After a while, he would run for the guys. He would do whatever. He was around. So Elliot was a guy that was always around. So the guys got to where they finally, send Elliot, get Elliot this, Elliot that. So Elliot becomes famous in the sense of that he be trusted. You know what I'm saying? You got to start somewhere.
Here's the second quote, and this one knocked me on my ass that if you said this, because this would be why I think you're so tuned in to be such a great trainer of legends, and why you're such a great put-over guy, an enhancement guy, a good hand, a good guy to get other people over while you get yourself over. This is what Elliot said. He said, somebody asked you something one time, somebody was talking about, and you said, I'm trying to remember exactly how he says you said it. If it wasn't for the nobodies, the somebodies would be nobodies.
Exactly.
Is that something?
100%. 100%. Because you sometimes the funny part about it is that the fans are fans. You're going to put your mind together. The fans are marks, right?
Eventually, right. Listen, if it goes back to the carnival, if it's predicated on a con, then yes, the fans are marks.
The fans, not today, but most of the years back, the fans are really marks. So because they're marks, you could use your mentality how to use them not only for yourself, but you'll be able, if you're a good worker. Now we're going to talk about being a good producer worker, not just a Mickey Mouse worker. If you're a good worker, you go in the ring. Not only you put yourself over, to be able to put somebody over, so when they beat you, they beat somebody. They don't beat just the guy that goes over there and takes bumps and does whatever the other guy wants and beats them, and then he didn't beat nobody. You're gonna beat. I'm gonna put you over. Whether I go over or not, I'm gonna give you some good stuff. So this way, the people say, "Damn, he's lucky you beat that fucking Johnny," or "Johnny, you're lucky that you beat that guy." Well, even if the other guy, they put me over and the other guy is not as good, I'm gonna make him look good. So when I beat him, at least I beat somebody. Not just because he was not I'm going to make him get some good hand claps. You know what I'm saying? Otherwise, I'm going to build him up so I could go over. Otherwise, I'm an asshole if I don't do that.
And even the heel, it's why they would train a heel in doing promos. Even a heel is not going to rub a babyface's face in their own mess and say, oh, you know, I beat this schlub, I beat this jamoke, I beat this nobody, he's worthless, he's this. Even a heel, when it mattered, psychology-wise in a promo, even a heel is going to say that he had a tough time and he had a worthwhile opponent because it makes the victory look that much more important.
It's like I'm training people still at Gleason's Gym. Well, I didn't start that in Gleason's. I didn't start a wrestling school. I did a wrestling club in Gleason's Gym because what I did was I bought a ring for fucking $8,000 at that time. I brought it all the way from Wildwood, New Jersey. So they had it there, and the guys doing karate, and they want to sell the ring, and I bought it. I fixed it up for wrestling. But I paid $8,000, and one guy, the guy that sold it to me, said, "I want to join you." I said, "All right, I'll give you $5,000, and then the club fee. I put in $3,000. The way I invented my wrestling club is that I put in $3,000 in my pocket, my pocket, and say, this is my wrestling club money for me to survive until I get a member to join me and give me the money back so I could train them no matter what time they need. But where do I go? I'm not going to pay rent to train somebody in 6 months and say, you're a professional wrestler. I couldn't do that. I did club style, members only. Everybody pays me back what I put in for them. So I put in $3,000 for the membership. But that membership, it's not a money, like you're making money because you're training people like a wrestling school, and you have to do this, and I've been doing. It's a private club of pro wrestling where I put the money up, you give it back to me. How long is it going to take? Oh, how long can I do this? I say, I don't know. How long is it going to take you? But if I say that, who's going to pay the rent? Now, if I'm going to pay rent every month for a year, and then the landlord's going to raise my rent, then I've got a business going on. Then I can't do the wrestling club anymore. So, but Gleason's Gym, who I know those people for Jesus, at least more than 50 years. I knew them before they came here. I knew them when they were in the Bronx, both partners. So I was always friends with them because they were right across the street from me when we were on 30th Street, and I was doing jewelry across the street from them, and I knew them more. When they come to Brooklyn, and they found out that I'm looking for a place so I could do the club, they called me and they gave me the whole arena. You know the rest. And then they say, Johnny, you got the arena. They even had a wrestling ring there. I said, well, what's the deal? I'm not going to pay rent. He goes, no, you don't pay rent. You got guys that you trying to bring in. I said, yeah, but I put the money up and they bring me back the money that I put up, and then they get started. This way we could do a rotary. See, that I started that rotary and everybody liked it because they say, but for how long? I said, well, I don't know how long it's going to take you. Gleason's Gym gave me all the time in the world. You guys got to pay gym dues, and you pay gym dues, and you give me back the money that I put in for you to stay. And when we rotate together, you get 1, you get 2, you get 3, you get 4. They're not coming in every week or every month. You put $3,000 in, and you might go 4 months before you get somebody to give you back the money. That's not a business. That's a private member club of pro wrestling, like I used to do when I was before I even started. Like I told you, we used to be 25 of us. We all paid the bill for the place, and no, you didn't get customers to pay for wrestling school. That's the business. That you gotta, I don't know, you gotta pay rent. You pay rent. If you had a wrestling school where you pay rent, where you want to learn in 6 months, you know how long it's going to take you for you to learn the game? So that's a threat. Anybody who tells you 6 months you could be a professional wrestler or a year, they got to be crazy. I don't know how good they are. I don't know how magic they could do. You know what I mean? Nobody could do that. So I don't believe in that. I'm with Gleason's Gym. When I did shows in the place, I did it for practice. I have the chairs, I have the ring, I have the place, I don't pay rent. Those three things alone, you save a lot of money. And now you want to do a wrestling show, you have to pay $2,000 for the night, and you have to pay for chairs, and you have to pay for, are you kidding me? And you draw 200 people, and you said that you're an independent promoter? You must be fucking wacky. And see, this is what I don't believe in. And then I never believe in, and I never believe. I'm at Gleason's Gym because they gave me everything. I got an office. I got a ring there that's $14,000, and then it sits there. Whether I go in there 1 day a week or 3 days a week, I tell the guys, come in. How long am I doing? Do it for as long as you want. Just bring in the money that I put in, and then you could stay with me. Oh, how much is that? I said, I have a $3,000 member club. I said, I put in that money so I can run back and forth myself. When somebody puts it in, whether they bring in $500 or they bring $1,000, it's not a business wrestling club. It's a private club that is supported by Gleason's Gym. Now, why Gleason's Gym wants me there? Because right now we started at $40 gym dues. Now it's $110. After COVID, it used to be 80 before COVID. After COVID, right away he raised the rent. Everybody paid. Some guys even left because it was too much for them. But I still open because I run with my own money. And then if I get not a customer, if I get a member, and he says, "Hey, I got $500, I got $1,000, or I got the whole money. Can I come in? How long do it take?" I said, "How long do you want it for?" "What do you mean?" "Oh, it's a lifetime membership. You come and go your leisure time. You're gonna get sick. You got to get the weather. You're gonna go away. So now you want a year. In a year, you won't even put in 4 months of labor because you're not there 24/7. So you see, you just got a real head full about what it is our wrestling training in my place. And it's not my place. He gave me the key, put my name in the front, and he covers everything for me. Gleason's Gym. The other partner died. He owns the whole thing now. So that's why I'm there. Otherwise, you think I'm be paying rent in Dumbo? Sheesh. You know how expensive? They pay $44,000 a month in rent, and that's cheap. And that's cheap over there because he's been there for I don't know how many years. He's been there for 40 some odd years already.
Right.
Yeah. I've been there now 37 since I have the arena, and the arena's not there no more. This is Dumbo, Brooklyn. This is very expensive now. But look at me. I'm in there with him, and I don't have to worry about rent or bills or telephone or nothing. I'm there for free. I put in the money that I put in a long time ago. When somebody comes in, say you want to be a wrestler, and you say, "Johnny, I want to be a wrestler. How much it cost?" I say, "It's a $3,000 member club." "Johnny, I only got about $1,000. I will bring it in, pay the gym, get started, look for more money, and keep bringing it in until you finish. But how long? Oh, I don't care. But how long does it take you?" See, that's a Rotary club. It's not a money. It's not a business. I don't have a business club. I have a private professional club at Gleason's Gym. But Gleason makes money because you have to pay gym dues every month for $125. And if you don't come for the month because you're sick or you went on vacation, they don't charge you because the club has its rules. You see?
Right.
And nobody uses the ring either because it's my ring. That ring cost me $14,000. I ain't going to get that money back no matter what I do. The only way I could get it, nobody's going to give you $14,000 for a ring.
Right.
The rings cost from $10,000 to $20,000. The regular boxing ring at Gleason's Gym, it costs $11,000. Nowhere near built the way mine is. So it is what it is. A lot of people don't understand what I do there. They think that I got a business going or wrestling school going. That's not what it is. Well, Elliot and those guys knew that. I mean, they knew
Well, whatever it is, Johnny, you're doing it right, and whatever it is, you're the master, and you're honestly, you're a scholar, but you're not. You know what? There's one thing. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Carmine Desperado. Carmine came to me when he was a kid, and nobody wanted to give him a chance for anything. So I said, well, I do since I do shows there. They got the arena. We do shows together. I said, you come on down, hang around, make believe you're a manager or something, and then do whatever you can. Just respect my place. He thinks I'm God to him. Oh, my God, he thinks I'm God. But you know why? He was pretty good as an editor for the Wrestling Night magazine, and nobody ever gave him a chance for him to explode, you know? I did. Yeah. I said. So he thinks you can't say not because of anything. If you say Johnny's a prick, he's ready to fight you. But I don't want that. He was a good guy. He loved the business like Elliot, and nobody will give him a break. Everybody kick him in the ass, because he's a kid. I said, get around, mind your business, don't get too nosy, and keep doing it. And look at that, he was the editor. So he thinks I'm gold. I don't do it for being gold. I do it because somebody has to give you a chance because you lost something. You can't harm nobody when you lost something. Look at you. You love the business too.
By training all the legends that you've trained, somebody gave you a bit. Like you said, you don't have an official trainer. You don't credit your wrestling training to one person like so many people credit you. You just came up, School of Hard Knocks, learned what you learned, did what you did, confident in yourself, asked for a shot. But so many people, Johnny, don't have it like that. They needed somebody to guide them, and you were there. And like I say, it's one thing to be a gentleman and a scholar. It's another thing to be a gentleman and a professor.
That's right. You said it right, you're right. You said it right. Let me explain something to you. Like, I have the kids. I got guys here from Arkansas, from Minnesota. I got a kid from Virginia who just did the Barclays Center there. Two guys were on the Barclays Center last show. There are two guys in California now with New Japan dojo there. They're doing pretty good. The funny part about it is that I tell you, say you wanted to join us. I said, okay, Noel, you go in there. The guys they're gonna introduce you to the rest of the guys. There'll be a whole wheel of guys. They introduce you. They treat you. They show you how to take bumps. They show you how to that. What I do is I say, do you take him and guide him? Whatever you do with them, remember, I'm not watching the new guy, and I'm watching what do you do to him for him to learn how to roll, how to take bumps, and how to do this. And now whatever you do wrong, I'm going to quote you on that. So, see, it's a rotary. I'm not the one that's got to go in there and show you how to take bumps. I'm going to show you the new guy. The new guy is going to learn from the guys already there doing it. So this way, I could see that you left a lot of things behind and not pay attention or didn't give a shit. Then I'm going to give you the hard time, not the new guy.
You are indeed you're the root of a wrestling tree that has many branches, Johnny. You're the root of a tree that has many branches.
Yeah.
You've trained legends, and you've taught teachers, and it's, I could talk to you all night about it.
That's the kind of training I do there. I'm there because if I quit and say, I don't want to be going there 3 or 4 days a week, what for, it's not like I'm making fucking money. You can't make no money with that wrestling bullshit. Wrestling schools can make a couple of dollars, but they're taking your money. I don't know how they do it. But they got to pay rent, they got to pay bills, so they tell you 6 months or 8 months, not even a year, because if you're going to take the rent for the year and you can't pay the landlord the rent, you're going to lose it. So they only give you 6 months, 8 months. So this way they play safe in case they got to give you time. It's impossible for you to learn how to pro wrestling in a year. So the way we do it, you're going to be a member. You're going to be supporting the club with your membership, but you're supporting everybody. You're not supporting me. You're supporting me because you're giving me back the money that I put in to support the club. But then you'll support everybody because we're going to use them every time somebody comes in. We use the same money for everybody else. For everybody to continue, so I can continue going back and forth. But the gym makes money. Every time somebody walks in, the gym makes money because they got to pay gym dues and everybody else pays gym dues. So he's got a business going. He's not going to give me a spot for free for me to make money. That's impossible. So anybody who thinks that I'm over there and I got a money maker, no, it's not a money maker. It's a club that I'm put in where I always get some money back over one I put in, but it stays there because I don't pay the rent, so I could go back and forth. If I go there over half a year and I didn't make a penny and nobody joining, I still don't lose nothing because I still got it because I don't pay rent. But then the members still be able to survive, and when somebody comes in, here we goes. The gym is the one that's got to make money. Otherwise, how are you going to teach how they're going to get time? People get sick, the weather, they got to work. You can't go there 24/7 for 6 months and then be magic. See, a lot of people don't understand my philosophy, how I train people, and they need time, and you need your own personal time. You join in, and so I have guys that join in and say, I can only come once a week. I said, you know how long that's going to take you? Well, I'm working, but I want to do it. I said, okay, welcome to the club. See? So now they could take all the time they want because they're not going to lose that time that they use for themselves. We don't have leisure time. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So see, this is what when you say, people come out and they see. I have a few good kids there. As a matter of fact, you should take time out and come one day and visit me.
I will. I'm going to take you up on that.
Come down, call me and say, Johnny, are you going to be there? And then come down and visit. It doesn't matter. I'm there Monday. I'm there Monday, Tuesday. I'm there Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday only.
I will come by one day.
Yeah, come on down one day and talk to the guys and take some pictures and I'm telling you, you'll see what the difference is. Well, it was nice. It was nice talking to you.
Johnny, so much. It's an honor, a pleasure, a privilege to talk to you. Thank you. I've wanted to do this interview for a couple of years now, 2-3 years, since I saw you again in Hamburg at the first one. And just thank you so much for all the time, for all of your wisdom and input and opinions, for all of your honesty, and for being so thorough. I just, I love you so much, and nothing but the best. And I know you have a birthday coming up in a month or so. I'm going to talk to you before.
Don't remind me. Can you remind me? Oh my!
Early 80s. You're all right.
All my pals in the wrestling business, they be gone. I just talked to Pete Sanchez and Davey O'Hannon the other day. And Peter's over there crying the blues, and Davey's limping all over the place. I talked to Manuel Soto. He's having problems in Puerto Rico with his wife. And then not too many of us left. It's everybody's gone.
Yeah.
I'll be around for a while, my friend. Like I said, good. I would like to see your butt down there sometime. Okay.
I'm gonna come visit you. We're gonna
give
go
me a call and say, Johnny, blah blah blah, and I'll come on down.
I sure will.
Yeah, do that. You're not that far.
All right. No, I absolutely will. Thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Good. You're a good guy. You got a good heart. You're smart. I hope you make it big. Okay, my friend?
If it comes out of your mouth, then it's true.
Yeah.
Johnny Rodz, ladies and gentlemen, 1996 class WWF Hall of Famer, legend, teacher, master. And we'll have more 69-minute eargasm after this. Well kept are history's mysteries and all of the annals from the archive, from the ancient to the modern, from the past to the present. How can we move on to the future if we do not know the ramifications of history? In this, the sport of kings, the world's greatest form of sport, entertainment, and art, professional wrestling, the purveyor, the keeper, the librarian, the professor, the architect, the man behind history's mysteries, and the man here to educate, entertain, and elucidate with the facts from the past is none other than the inimitable John Pantozzi.
Thank you, Joel. Okay, let's go back a few decades. 1980, the WWF held Showdown at Shea in Flushing, over 36,000 fans. The unpredictable Johnny Rodz faced Ivan Putski, had a bevy of stars. Fabulous Moolah was on the card. Tatsumi Fujinami and Antonio Inoki from Japan. Tony Atlas, Ken Patera, Bob Backlund, and Pedro Morales defeated Alpha and Sika, the Samoans, to win the WWF World Tag Team Championship. Of course, they had to vacate it because Backlund was the world champion. And in the main event, of course, Bruno Sammartino defeated Larry Zbyszko in a steel cage match as the blow-off match to their big, tremendous feud. All right, we go to 1986 to St. Louis, Missouri. Ric Flair defeats Dusty Rhodes, and he wins the NWA World Heavyweight Championship the 5th time. 1997, we have a few different things. Hollywood Hogan regained the WCW World Heavyweight Championship by defeating Lex Luger in Sturgis, South Dakota, while in ECW land, Sabu defeated Terry Funk in a barbed wire match for the ECW Championship. It is said that Paul Heyman considered this match so violent that he refused to ever book a match of its kind again. All right, 2 years later, 1999, we're in the middle of the Monday Night Wars. WCW Monday Nitro, Chris Benoit defeats David Flair and wins the WCW United States Championship. Hulk Hogan, after several years, he is back in the red and yellow, and he teams with Sting and Goldberg to defeat Sid Vicious, Kevin Nash, and Rick Steiner. Turn the channel. WWF on Raw had been having a Millennium Countdown that lasted several weeks. It finally ended to reveal the debut of Chris Jericho as the Millennium Man. Also on that card, a title change. Kane and X-Pac defeated Farouk and Bradshaw to win the WWF Tag Team Championship. Another interesting match that night. Chyna defeats Triple H and The Undertaker in a triple threat Falls Count Anywhere match, and she becomes the #1 contender for the WWF Championship. 2011, SmackDown, Sacramento, California. Cody Rhodes defeats Ezekiel Jackson and wins the WWE Intercontinental Championship. We also have to wish Alexa Bliss a happy birthday. She was born in 1991. And we end on a sad note because it was on this date, August 9th in 2020, that one of the greatest gimmicks of the modern era passed away. James Harris, Kamala the Ugandan Giant, at 70 years old, passed away on August 9th, 2020. He was a great man, great friend, and a great attraction. And that's it for August 9th.
He seemed like a really cool dude when we spoke. It's funny, in your segment, you kind of full circle from the first person you mentioned to the last person you mentioned, both of them guests that we've been honored to have to interview and to go into deep dives about their lives here on this program. This episode, of course, with Johnny Rodz, who we just spoke with recently, and then a few years ago we did indeed have Kamala on the Eargasm as well. Both great guys, and Kamala is deeply and severely missed. John, thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Joel. We'll see you at the matches.
Yep, and we'll have more 69-minute Eargasm after this. Gasm, 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 after this.